welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to actually be showing you a couple things. One of them is how I sharpen my knives. My good friend Dominic Scalisi, what's up Dom, commented on my videos, asked me how I keep my knives so sharp. So I've said it before, but no matter what knife you have, no matter how much money you spent on it, it does get dull over time. There's no knife that will stay sharp forever. So I sharpen my knives probably 4 times a year, 4 to 6 times a year, depending on how much I've been using them. But this is a Shun Fuji knife. This is a really nice high-end knife. It's like 230 bucks. It's not cheap. It holds a really great edge, but I still have to sharpen it often, multiple times a year. So I'm gonna show you how I do mine. I use a whetstone. I'm not gonna spend too much time sharpening it on camera because for a couple reasons. One, I'm not amazing at doing it myself. I can get it about 90 to 95% sharp. But I'd say once a year or so, I'll send it off to someone who professionally does it, and then it comes back like a razor blade. But that 95% is still really, really sharp with this knife. And two, there's a ton of videos of people with much better setups than this kitchen showing you how to sharpen a knife. So watch one of those more in-depth videos. But nonetheless, I will show you what I do to keep my knife sharp. And then since not everybody cares about sharpening their knives, I figured I would shoot a quick video cooking some food after slicing it with my knife that I just sharpened. So I'm going to sous vide some beets. And sous vide is this machine right here. It's like a water immersion circulator. Basically what it does is it heats up water to a certain level and it holds it there. So you can cook, you put the food in bags and you put it in the water bath and it cooks it to whatever temperature you set. So you could cook like 25 steaks all at the same time and cook them up right up to a perfect 127 degree medium rare steak and leave them there for 6 hours and they would never overcook. So also can do it for vegetables like I'm doing today. So the great thing about these is that all the flavor is trapped in a bag, so nothing gets out. It kind of permeates the food even more so than if you were cooking it in the stove or in the oven, on the stove, etc. So I hope you enjoy it. We will see how this goes. Thanks for the request, Don. All right, so this is what the whetstone looks like. This has 2 sides. One is a 1000 grit and one is 6000 grit. So they make these all the way up to like 10,000 and all the way down to 400 or 800, pretty low. So it's just like sandpaper. The lower the grit, the more abrasive that this is. So this 1000 is gonna be where I really take off most of the steel on my knife. And then at the very end, this is going to polish it. I mean, this feels basically like ceramic. It's really smooth. So that's gonna polish the edge. Now you have to soak these in water. You have to soak it in water for about 15 minutes before you use it. So you'll notice once you put it in water, it'll bubble. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's gonna bubble and soak up this water. So in about 15 minutes, it'll be good to go. One quick note while that is soaking. This is called a honing steel. This doesn't sharpen a knife whatsoever. What this does, when you hone your knife, it just realigns the edge. So if you imagine looking at this blade through a microscope, and if it was just used, the metal itself, the blade actually starts to get kind of wavy almost and moved around, smashed around a bit. And the honing steel really just realigns that edge. So it pulls kind of the sides of the metal together, if I'm explaining that, if you understand what I'm saying. But over time, that metal actually wears down into a softer point. So that's when you need a whetstone to actually reshape the edge into a sharp point. You should use a honing steel every time you cook just to realign that edge. It will feel sharper momentarily. It technically is sharper because it's aligned, but it's not actually removing any steel from this. When you use a whetstone or any sharpening process, you're physically sanding steel off of your knife every time. So just some clarification, this is not a sharpener. Okay, this has been soaking. Take it out. 1000 side. And just to show you, not very sharp, right? Okay. So here's what we do. You put water on it. You want to keep your knife almost like a matchbook is under it. That's about the angle that you want for your knife. And once you do this quite a bit, you can kind of feel where the blade gets flush up against the stone with your fingers. So you kind of raise it until it gets flush like that. You're gonna push it away and then lift up on it. And so we're gonna do this until what's called a burr is formed. So on this side, this edge is slowly gonna curl up like this, and you're gonna start to feel a little lip on this side, on the top side. That's called a burr. So once the whole blade from top to bottom has a burr, then we're gonna flip it over and do the other side. And then the burr will slowly come back to this side. Then we'll shave it off and then we'll polish it up. But that's what you're looking for. So it can take a little bit of time. So I've been going at this for probably 6 minutes. You can almost hear, I have a burr from right here to here and then about at the end, but kind of this middle section, I don't. So you can hear me kind of scrape my finger along. That's that burr that's catching. You can't really see it, but I can feel that in this middle section, I need to spend a little bit more time right there in kind of the meat of this knife. All right, I can feel the burr all the way up and down. So now, I'm gonna get it wet, I'm gonna flip it over, do the same thing on this side. All right, I've got a burr on this side, so I'm gonna go back to this side and do a couple long swipes, just a couple on each side to kind of erase that burr and even it out. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay, that's much sharper. So now I'm gonna switch to the 6000 side. Gonna more or less do the same thing. This is gonna polish up that edge. Okay. I think we're pretty good. Let me see. Yeah, that's a pretty sharp knife right there. So that's how I do it. Like I said, I'm not the best, but clearly gets me close enough, all right? So let's make some beets. All right, so we've got some beets here. I've got the tops. I'm gonna cut off the top, but I might save these depending on how I feel in a bit. I might cook these up. If you do, you just blanch them in some boiling water, cook them up with some, garlic and olive oil, just like you're making spinach or something, but I'll decide later. So for these beets, we're gonna wanna peel them and then slice them into like a quarter, an 1/8 inch thick slices. Just heads up, these will stain everything, so including your cutting board. All right, like I said, I'm gonna do about an 1/8 to a 1/4 inch pieces. All right. So I'm gonna throw these in a Ziploc bag with some olive oil, a little bit of balsamic vinegar, and salt. Then we're going to sous vide them at 185 degrees for about an hour, and they're gonna be perfect. See you there. This is that balsamic glaze. If you don't have nice balsamic vinegar, use some of this. I just realized that was in the way the whole time. Sorry about that. Make sure everything gets coated. Big pinch of salt. A little bit more. All right. Do it. All right, so we've got our pot full of water. It doesn't need to be on the stove. And I've got my sous vide hooked up. So you want to get as much air out of this pot as possible. If you have a vacuum bag, you can do that. But if not, you can put it in water and kind of push it under, and the water will force all of the air out. There we go. Now I'm going to put it in here, clip it on the side, and turn this on. I'm going to set it to 185. And then you just leave it for an hour. Then we'll be good to go. Okay, so I lied. These actually take like 3 hours in the sous vide. I forgot, because it's been a while, and it's definitely a low and slow method, so kind of threw off my timing for dinner, but that's all right. I guess the good news is you can do these way ahead of time and just keep them warm, but if you're in a pinch, the sous vide is not the way to go, but luckily I wasn't, so let's finish them up. I'm gonna finish these with a little bit of pecans, feta, and balsamic glaze. Goat cheese is also great. All right, I ran out of light, but I finished them 3 hours later. They're delicious. I already tasted them. So good. So yeah, that's how I sharpen my knives. That's how you make beets when you want them to take 3 hours. Or you can just wrap them in foil and roast them at like 425 for probably 45 minutes. Maybe much quicker, but that's not what I did today. So maybe next time. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you try it. And sharpen your knives. Your knives are too dull. Very dangerous to use dull knives. A sharp knife is way safer than a dull knife. I'm telling you. Thanks for watching.